in spite of the ache. In 2017 we will rise 1,000 times again. Thank you.
That's right. Amen. Good morning, church. We are in it, aren't we? Yes, we are. I was so blessed to have Majesty here and to render that beautiful song about rising up. And this is a time when we do rise, because it is the first day of this new year. And the first day of anything is a time of beginnings. It's a time when you say, why not? A few short years ago, along the wintry shores of Lake Michigan in Chicago, high in a building overlooking that majestic lake was a room in a hospital. In that hospital room, there was a woman who was laboring to bring forth a child. And she did it. And that child was named Joy. Today, January 1, is the birthday of Joy Suzanne Miller Davis. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Joy. Happy birthday to you. Hey! Amen. Thank you all very much because you know I live with Joy. And I'm very happy to be in this building right now because it's a sanctuary. Amen. A sanctuary. We are so alive this morning, and I feel it. The Spirit is good, and I love it. But I want to give us a little bit of a tap on the shoulder this morning, because in all of our celebration of this new year, we sometimes don't want to remember the old year. We look forward. And in looking forward, you have expectations of good things. But church, it's important for us to look and listen, to watch. And so the title of this sermon is Vigilance, taken from the word vigil, which is to watch. It's important for us to be awake, church. It's so important because in these times we have what they call post-truth. Post-truth. I was reading the other day that the Oxford Dictionary people said that was the most popular word in the world this past year. Post-truth. People were looking up that word. What does this mean, post-truth? And so the people at the Oxford Dictionary said, well, this is what it means. It means circumstances in which objective fact does not influence public opinion more than personal belief and emotional appeals to emotion. Public opinion is not influenced by objective facts, but appeals to emotion and personal belief. And so post-truth is not in the sense of pre and post, before and after, but post in the sense of absence of truth. That is the world we are living in now. People say anything and say, well, how can you prove that? Well, I don't need to prove it. is how I feel. And so with that kind of world around us, people are saying, how do you respond to that? What do you do? Now, I have been around for a while. I got a few gray hairs up here. And I don't think this is a new thing. I don't think post-truth is very new. As a matter of fact, I was reared in the household of R.E. Davis, my father. And Robert E. Davis used to say to me, ain't nobody going to the moon. Ain't nobody up there. I said, Dad, wait a minute, Dad, I got all the books that tell that rockets and Apollo or Mercury, Gemini, Daddy, they are going. No, son. You see, they got back lots where they make movies, and they can make anything out there, and then they show you that, and then you think, boom, hey, it's the moon. But it's not, son. Don't believe that. And I would go, Daddy, it was kind of embarrassing, church. Because I considered myself to be a wise, and I thought, well, I know stuff. And my daddy is saying there's no such thing as the space agency, NASA, going out into outer space. It's embarrassing, Father. But I think my dad was trying to get me to go a little bit further than just that topical thing. So I can't, that post-truth thing that he was trying to get me to see had to do more with, son, don't believe everything you hear. Son, don't believe everything that's said to you is true. Check it out. Watch. Listen, look, read, go a bit further. So though he said it so cavalierly, and I couldn't understand why he considered it to be so cavalier about this, I think he was trying to make me do something. Go see, go read, go find out. So post-truth to me is it's a sign for us to go do something. When people say, I don't have to tell you what is real, it's time for us to look to see what is real, right? That same man, R.E. Davis, my father, rest in peace, thought it was important for his children to know that they belonged in this world and that they mattered in this country. So way back in 1965, church, and just go back with me for a while. In 1965, we had the Voting Rights Act signed in August. We had the Civil Rights Act signed a year before, in 1964. And that Voting Rights Act and Civil Rights Act said that black people could vote and go wherever there was public accommodations without being segregated. And so my father, R.E. Davis, in 1965, on Christmas Day, when traditionally people would go to the movies, he said, let's go to the movies. And he took my mother, my sister, our grandmother, his mother, his sister, Virgie, all of us as a family went to the movies in Sapulpa, Oklahoma. But this time, church, when we walked into the theater, we didn't go upstairs to the balcony. We went downstairs where the white folks were sitting. So my sister and I, being the youngest, looked at each other like, ooh. And my father was leading us proudly into that section. Now I remember the movie. That's why I know this movie wasn't important. The movie was Beach Blanket Bingo. That was Frankie Avalon and Annette Funicello. And my sister and I kept saying, of all the movies to go to, we went to this. But there was my grandmother, my aunt, my dad, my mom. We're all sitting on the road watching the movie and not moving. So I wonder what happened with behind the backstage. Were the ushers dared come down there and confront the old man? I doubt it. But my dad did that once again. He didn't talk about it. We didn't talk about it like, look what we did. He acted as if this is the way it's supposed to be. So he was trying to tell us about this thing about post-truth. Because if you ask the people at the Criterion Theater in Spub, Oklahoma, why do you segregate black people from white people? They wouldn't tell you objective fact. They would say something about personal belief or appeal to some emotional state. So post-truth has always been with us. It's always been with us, and we are called to move past post-truth. On this day, in this place, vigilance. Think about that. I got something else to share with you. Oftentimes we leave Christmas behind. And I was so glad that Victor read Howard Thurman's What to Do After Christmas. Because so often we leave that behind because we don't really carry the Christmas story with us. But I was reading recently a Unitarian minister named Reverend Tony Lawrenson said that the Christmas story is actually revolutionary. And so many artists have taken the Christmas story and built whole stories around that. And he or she, because I don't know if Tony is a male or female, Reverend Lawrenson said, if you look at Wizard of Oz, or if you look at Star Wars, or if you even look at the Hunger Games, it's the Christmas story. You say, what? What? Tell us that. Reverend Lawrenson said the Christmas story is when love shows up in unexpected places, in unexpected people, in unexpected ways, to challenge the arrogance and the control of the cruel, the powerful, and the violent. That's the Christmas story. When love shows up. You see, love will show up when we least suspect it. You know, love showed up with Dr. King when Dr. King said, now we're going to work toward the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act by marching, by making things inconvenient for folks, by calling into question the practices and traditions of that which has been going on for generations. We're going to show up with love. And so we found out that love showed up and made it work. Love showed up when R.E. Davis said, come on, y'all, we're going to go into this movie theater. Not because the movie theater is wrong, but because we're right. You see, we're going to make love show stronger than anything they could do to stop it. You see, love shows up at 2952 South Peoria. When Bishop Carlton Pearson and Reverend Marlon Lavenhar had a conversation. And they said, you know, our congregation is big enough to hold everything that you got, even if it is love, because we got love here. So love can find itself here. So love showed up at All Souls Unitarian Church. You see. You see, love shows up when we have post-truth. When we have a time when we say we don't know what's going on because people are saying that's not true and this is not true, and we have objective fact. Well, love says keep on pushing. Love says don't stop just because they say no. Love brings us something more than no. Love gives us possibility. Amen. You see, that's the Christmas story. And we forget that. We forget that the Christmas story is all about telling truth to those cruel, violent, powerful forces out there. And how do we do that? How do we show up? How do we do that, church? We do that by being present. It starts there. It starts with caring. You can't do it if you don't care, church.
Amen.
How do you care, church, if it's so hard sometimes to get people to realize the powerful forces are aligned against us and it's not a pipe dream, it's real? How do you get people to care? Because it takes courage, doesn't it?
Amen.
It takes courage. You know, the little man who was the emperor of Ethiopia, Haile Selassie. Haile Selassie was a little man, but he was the emperor of all of Ethiopia. And he was living in a time when we had World War I and II, and he saw the transition and even the Vietnam War. And he saw what needed to happen. Haile Selassie said these words. He said, perseverance of peace. Perseverance of peace. And, come on, church. I memorized this. Okay, I'll come back to it. The perseverance of peace and the point of always having, oh, this is horrible. The perseverance of peace. Well, anyway, Haile Selassie brought to mind these words, that in order to have peace, in order to ensure the fundamental human rights of freedom and all those rights, in order to have that, it requires courage and eternal vigilance. Courage and eternal vigilance. Courage to speak and to act. And in some instances, if it's necessary, to suffer and to die for truth and justice. Haile Selassie said that. Courage to speak and act, and if necessary, to suffer and die for truth and justice. That is the key to what we call with courage. But you don't have courage unless you care, unless you love, because that's what's going to make you speak. That's what's going to make you act. That's what even going to make you stand there and say, you may kill me, but I'm just one. It's a whole bunch of us behind. You can't kill all of us. Courage. But then Haile Selassie said also eternal vigilance. Eternal vigilance. So that not the least transgression of the international morality, the least transgression will not be undisclosed or unremedied. Right? The least transgression of international morality. Now we're at a point now where a whole bunch of transgressions are going on against international morality. And we wonder sometimes, what about the least? The least gets covered up. But then if you start uncovering those holes, you'll find the least, because it always starts with just a little bit. It starts with a little bit of freedom taken away, a little bit of your personal rights being moved aside. It always starts with a little bit, and that's when you have the big comes from that. So now we're in a position where we must be watchful, we must care, we must love. And don't believe that you don't have it. That I just don't. I have so much, Reverend, that I got to take care of. I got to take care of so much. I don't have time for these causes that you're talking about. But church, this is not about a cause. This is about living. We don't live in a place that says it's milk and honey. We live in a place that says it's cruel tyrants. They're violent and episodic instances of terrorism. But that doesn't mean that we hide. It only means that we stand up and speak against it. And we act on what we're speaking. And as we speak and we act, we do. And when you're doing that, love shows up. Amen. You know, it's said, and Dr. Cornel West said this. He said, justice is just love in public. Justice is just love in public. It all starts with love. That's the Christmas story. It's the Christmas story. We've been given opportunities to love one another. And that is what it's all about. We can move past all the barriers, all the post-truths, all the things that tell us we can't. Yes, we can. We can do all of that because we have love. Love didn't just land on us because we're so wonderful people. No, love is unexpected because we're all human beings that mess up. We're all human beings that stumble. We all hit a wrong note every now and then. But we don't play by ourselves. We play in an ensemble. And so when you may be hitting that wrong note, somebody will hit one wrong note with you. And before you know it, you got that wrong note doing something. Right? So it's all about working together. It's moving past the things that keep us apart. Now, there's something else that we celebrate on this day, besides New Year's and Joy Miller Davis's birthday. We celebrate the last day of Kwanzaa. I'm putting it all up because I don't get a chance. I don't know when I'm ever going to preach on New Year's Day again. I don't know. But I'm bringing it all to you right now because I'm feeling it. You got to hear it. Hear me now. Hear me now. The last day of Kwanzaa is faith. Imani, right? And for those of you that don't know Kwanzaa, all right? Kwanzaa is a non-religious, but it's a cultural tradition of African Americans that was not based in Africa. It came out of the mind of Malana Ron-Karanga, who in 1967 said, we need something to keep us black folks focused. We need some principles that will keep us moving in the right direction. And Malana Ron-Karanga came up with some words he called the Nguza Saba principles. And it's all about unity and collective work and responsibility and cooperative economics and purpose and creativity and self-determination. Kuja Chagalia. And Imani, faith. All right, so those are the 7 principles. And he said, everybody can benefit from those 7 principles. And so Kwanzaa is not just a black thing. These are principles that can be shared with everyone. And so on this day of faith, and hear me now, faith was included even though this is a non-religious tradition because you gotta have faith. That's what George Michael said, didn't he? He said faith. Faith, you gotta believe in something more than yourself. Now I know we have our humanist brothers and sisters say, don't be bringing God into this. Well, look here, if we don't have to bring God into it. Let's just look at the fact that the belief in something more than just you means that you're not self-centered, so that you're looking open and you're looking outward and you're looking inclusively. And can that work with you? All right? Because I'm going to stay with God, though. That's me. That's me. And I'm not going to say you bad for not. But I'm going to say for me, that's a tradition that it works with me. All right? So God says in Imani, when we talk about faith, God says you got to believe in yourself and believe in your community and believe in the possibility that you will be better. Right? That faith says that, moving past that. So that's another day that we celebrate. But I got another one. That's coming, right? I got something else. Because Black Lives UU, blue. Black Lives Unitarian Universities. Y'all know about that? Black Lives this is all in the movement for Black Lives, part of Black Lives Matter. The movement for Black Lives. In 2015, the movement for Black Lives had a big meeting. Blue, Black Lives UU showed up and they said, look here, We have 7 principles in our Unitarian Universalist tradition, but we need to have 7 principles of the movement for Black lives that are consistent with those 7 principles. And so they came up with 7 principles. And I won't go all into it, but I'm going to go into the first principle is all Black lives matter. Whether you trans Black life, whether you gay Black life, whether you elder Black life, whether you different abled Black life like me, all of y'all, Black lives matter. Now that's not, and see the other part to that is you don't have to make an excuse for that. You don't have to say to folks who are not Black, well, I'm not saying you don't matter. You don't have to do that. Because the whole point of saying Black lives matter is that evidently some folks think they don't. Right? So do you remember in Memphis when Dr. King went to help the garbage workers? Remember the people walking there that said, I am a man. They were walking with signs saying, I am a man. Do you remember that? Why did they have to do that? Because they were not treated like they were human beings. You remember when Jesse Jackson with Operation Breadbasket would have the chant, I am somebody. Now, why did he have to do that? Because folks didn't feel like they were somebody. So when you hear Black Lives Matter, that's the automatically you will know some folks don't understand that. So we need to say it again, Black Lives Matter. That's the first principle. Amen. But the second principle is love/self-love. Love, self-love. It says that everything, all, total, we do has to be driven by love, and it will be the indicator of our success. You see, that's the second principle. Love, self-love. Church, we can't leave it. Love is the thing that keeps us going, the stick and stay. I'm so glad that you're here this morning because I didn't know how many people would come. I didn't know how many people would groggily turn on their computers and watch it live stream. I had no idea. But I told Marlon, I said, I don't care if it's 5 or 5,000. I'm going to tell them what's in my heart. And what's in my heart is love. It's love. Love starts everything. Love and self-love. So we have, if you love yourself, and you got to love yourself, church. No matter what happens, you got to love yourself. You got to understand that people don't want you to love yourself, because when you don't love yourself, you're not paying attention. When you love yourself, you're paying attention because you don't want anything to hurt you. So that might be bad water. That might be an oil company that's fracking. That might be a loose cannon up in the White House. But whatever, if you love yourself, you're going to do something about it. And love means justice, right? Out loud. That's what it is. So I'm telling you, church, on this beautiful day of the first day of the year, if there's nothing else you take away from this sermon, take away this. Vigilance means being awake. Stay woke.
When David and I were looking at a text that we could set to a song, for the closing song, we found this beautiful thing out of the gray hymnal. The ceaseless flow of endless time no one can check. We'll view the past with no regret, nor future with dismay. So he and I will invite you to stand and body your spirit as we sing these wonderful words to a tune you already know. Here we go. The ceaseless flow of endless time no one can check or stay. We'll view the past with no regret, nor future with dismay. present slips into the past, and dream-like melts away. The breaking of tomorrow's dawn begins anew today. The past and future